In my hospital room, the Lord reminded me of what he had told me in the car on the way to the hospital. I told you that your arm was not broken, but that you had knocked your elbow out of place and had a slight fracture, he said. I also told you this was the devil's work, but it would all work out to my glory and your good. I replied, Yes, Lord, and I haven't worried about it for a minute because I know what you told me. In fact, I have been having a glorious time in the Lord. You are to be commended for taking me at my word, Jesus continued. Now I want to say this to you. This has happened to you not because it was my perfect will for you, because it is not my will at all. This has happened to you because you got out of my perfect will into my permissive will.
All right, so now we get into the real reason why he says this happened, which is he got out of God's perfect will and into his permissive will. Now, we know there's a legitimate argument that can be made there, and I know that in theological circles there are things like that, but we're going to see how he twists this, into something else. Just read that paragraph where it says some time ago, and just read that paragraph.
Some time ago, when you preached to a convention of ministers, you stated that your ministry was that of a teacher and a prophet. You got into trouble because you reversed the order of your ministry, putting your teaching ministry first and your prophetic ministry second. When you did that, you got out of my perfect will and into my permissive will, thus opening the door for the devil to attack you.
Go ahead. Let's read another couple paragraphs here because this is interesting. Okay.
You might ask why. If I knew you were going to fall and hurt your arm, I didn't prevent it. I could have, of course, but I didn't want to. And instead of being angry with me for not preventing it, you should be glad I allowed it to happen. If I hadn't permitted Satan to do this, to arrest your attention, you would not have lived past the age of 55 because you would have continued in my permissive will instead of my perfect will.
Okay, let's stop there. Now, isn't that interesting? Is that Jesus is telling him, I did this to you, or I allowed this to happen to get your attention because you got out of my perfect will and into my permissive will just by getting the order of being a teacher rather than a prophet first or second. In other words, this is telling you, number one is that, see, Jesus kind of sat back and watched this happen. And then number two is, see, if you're not careful, Jesus is going to break your arm.
Yeah, I think this is just another one of those cases that we have talked about where this just puts so much responsibility, so much burden, so much just heaviness on the Christian, where, man, if I get this stuff wrong, like I could die earlier than what I'm supposed to die, and all of these things. And just, you look at this, to me, seems like a very harsh treatment from God.
Yes.
For a very simple issue with Kenneth Hagin, right? So
yes.
he got the order of his ministry wrong, and so God is gonna do all this to him.
Right.
This little thing is what has got escalated to this level.
Yes.
And
yes.
to me, if I'm a Christian and I'm believing this, I'm probably having an anxiety attack because I don't know what I may have done to get out of the perfect will of God.
Yes. Yes. And that's what this is designed to do, is to worry you a little bit. Now, if Kenneth Hagin is this close to God and he's had this many visions of Jesus, and it was easy for him to slip out of God's perfect will into his permissive will and possibly die early at age 55, get a broken arm in the process. Whoa, it's like, what about me? I'm just
Yeah.
Mr. Average Christian.
Yeah.
I'm not superstar like Kenneth Hagin is. Again, I mean, this kind of makes God kind of look kind of bad, in my opinion. It's just like, you can believe in healing all you want, you can believe in all these things, but you better watch out, because if you slip up, God's going to break your arm and possibly let you die soon.
It brings me back to this, and this is a question that I've had. We talked about this in our episode where we were reviewing Kenneth Copeland and Sid Roth, and that is, God, who sees all, knows all. He knew that this was going to happen. He knew that Kenneth Hagin here was going to get out of his perfect will into his permissive will. Him and Kenneth Hagin have multiple conversations with God. Literally saved Kenneth Hagin in hell.
Yes.
Why didn't he just tell him, hey, Ken, you got it wrong, buddy. Let's back the truck up.
Right. Yeah. It's like he can't just tell him this. He says, okay, I'm just going to wait and let Satan break your arm, and then I'm going to, that way I can get your attention. It's like, I can't get your attention any other way. It's like, wait a minute, this guy's supposed to be like next to the Lord. And, it's just like I say, like he's, I mean, he has all these visions and all of this stuff. He's praying in tongues. He's doing all this stuff. And he still somehow gets into God's permissive will. And it's not like he's committing a gross sin or something like that. It's just a matter of getting slight priorities different in his ministry. And now, okay, all right, bud, you're going to get it, and I'm telling you, if you don't straighten up, then you're going to die at age 55.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like a bit over the top reaction on God's part.
Yes, absolutely.